I first started singing when I was just a little kid, and the neighbors told my mother I was blessed, and that probably God had something for me to do in my life, and I didn't understand that. My mother said, "Just have to wait and see." So when she died in 1979, she left me $60,000 to set up a musical enterprise, which I did. California Gold Records, California Gold Music, DJ, in a way, music publishing, and songwriter placement service. So we first started with the making music with the publishing company, and had the best musicians in LA to come play on it when they weren't on the road with major artists. And we were doing good, but there was a lot of fighting for position, for more power. So we had to leave that alone. But in 1983, one of the gentlemen that was very nice during that time with the publishing company came and said, "I know you've always wanted to sing and try to do an album. I'll help you do a 45 to see if that'll be successful or not." So we went in the studio, and a friend of mine, Jane Dempsey, had a brother named Greg Dempsey, and he said he'd worked with the Rolling Stones and Leon Russell. So he came, and we did CC Rider and It's Only Make Believe, and we took the record, the 45, up to Macy Littman, the biggest star maker in Hollywood. He had an office right on the Strip, and if you wanted to be a superstar, you went to him, and he could make it happen. And we took the music to him, CC Rider and It's Only Make Believe, and he said, "You got a voice and sell records, but you could use my help. $300,000 will give you as big as Billy Idol." And I never cared for Billy Idol, so I said, "No, that's okay." But I said, "How much for a really good album?" He said, $100,000. So I went and got the $100,000, and we went in the studio, and we wrote. Before we went in the studio, we wrote about 30, 40 songs, took the best 10, went in the studio and recorded it, and got the best musicians in the world to play on that album. And we got an emulator machine, a drum machine, to have perfect timing. The Lindrum was there to make sure everybody was right on the money with the beat. And so we got Paul McCartney's drummer from Wings, Vicky Carr's bass player, Chrissy Chefs worked with many big-name artists. Mike Lawrence was a fantastic keyboard player and a good producer. And we had Stevie Wonder's brass section play on some of our stuff. And I got the best singers I could. We had 20 or 30 auditions, got the best 3. One of them was Tommy Farragher, who went on to become a really celebrity in his own right. But my mother had died, and my father needed my help, and they tried to steal my album. So I just didn't do anything more with that album till 1996. And I went over and met Tom Gordon in Reno, and he made it into a CD, and it sounded pretty good, but the vocals just weren't what I liked. So one of a business I invested money into, Millennium Technology. There was a guy from the Turtles, and he said, "Well, if you can sing perfect pitch, we'll do everything for you." The only problem was the company went under before they could get a hold of that. But I did do perfect pitch, but other things happened, and I just never was able to get on to do the music. But I was looking for I decided I wanted to get back into music, so I was looking for that CD with the perfect pitch, with the great music, and we couldn't find it. And then all of a sudden, I moved back to West Virginia, and my son had my briefcase. He brought it to me 3 years later, and there was the perfect pitch, and mastered by Tom Gordon, and I sent it to him to remaster it, and he did, and now we have the product. And now it seems like it wasn't time in '84 as Jesse Guerin, it wasn't time in 1996 with Tom Gordon as Jesse Guerin, but now as David Ross, I want to get the music out and people enjoy the music that we put together. We have $100,000 invested in that album. Capitol Records said that we had a gold album. We were waiting for Donna Summers, Queen of Disco, to get out before we were there. And then the group Berlin was waiting for us to get out of Rush Studios in Hollywood. It was the hottest studio in L.A. Around the country. It was just a fantastic studio. And so anyway, we just now have the CDs, and I hope the people can enjoy the music. I'm hoping to make enough money to go into either Nashville or out to Reno and follow this secular album with a Christian gospel album. And I hope you enjoy the music we put together, the vocals, and God bless everybody. Thank you. We had a drummer that did drumming on C.C. Ryder's Only Make Believe, and he was really good, but he partied the night before he was supposed to be there to do tracks for us, and so he cost me $500. And so I said to the engineer, Dobie, I told him, I said that we need a really good drummer. He said, Paul McCartney's drummer's in town, and he said, but you're just a young recording company, he probably wouldn't want to work with you. So I said, yeah, well, he won't work with me if you don't give me the phone number. So he gave me the phone number. I called Denny, and I said, Denny, this is David Ross Markson from California Gold Music. And he said, well, I'm Paul McCartney's drummer. I said, that doesn't cut no mustard with me, guy, because I had Joe Cockers, Tijeras, and you name them, we had the best drummers in L.A. try to do the album. They couldn't do it. I said, so I'll tell you what, you pretend I have really good, I told him, I have really good material. And he said, I've heard that crap before. And I said, okay, I'll tell you what, you come over to my studio, and I'll assume you can do the album, and you assume I might have good material. Maybe we'll both be surprised. So he came over to my studio, and he started playing, and he locked into every song. He smiled at me. I smiled at him, and he ended up doing and I told the co-producers, I went to Santa Barbara for business. I said, you leave him alone, let him do what he does. And Denny did the whole album fantastically, and he told the co-producers that on the song Chains that he did the best drumming he'd ever done in his life, including anything he did for McCartney. So that song Chains is pretty special. And Christy Chefs is very special. She went on to do many things, and she really loved Jesse Guerin, because Jesse Guerin was actually David Ross at the beginning, because I took the name because Elvis and I had we had a voice alike, and he was an only child, I was an only child. He was close to his mother, I was close to my mother. He was spiritual, I was spiritual. Everything, all the way down the line, we were very close. And my first manager, when I was working at Water and Power, called me up and said, I'm Ben Wiseman. And I said, yeah, okay, big deal. He said, no, I wrote 10 of Elvis's songs. I said, oh. He says, I want you to do a demo for me, and if I like it, I'll be your manager. And so I did Moonshadow by Cat Stevens. I did Only Love Will Break Your Heart by Neil Young, and I did Heartbreak Hotel by Elvis. And then all of a sudden I got a call from him. He said, who's singing that Heartbreak Hotel? I said, me. He said, well, if I took that to a Braille Institute, they wouldn't know if that was you or Elvis. I said, okay. So I saw Elvis in 72 and 74, and every time I went there, they thought I was Elvis's cousin. And I said, no, just a fan. But Ben Wiseman wanted me to meet Elvis because I'd taken his brother's name. Jesse Guerin was Elvis's twin brother that never lived. And so he wanted me to meet Elvis. So in 1974, when we went up to see him, I called the manager and said, Ben Wiseman wants me to meet, to talk to Colonel about meeting Elvis. And he said, oh, okay. So he sent me up to the penthouse, and one of the entourage said, you missed him by five minutes. They went out to Boulder Dam. So I said, well, that's too bad. I got to get back to L.A. So I never met him, but I went to Nashville to see Conway Twitty because we had recorded It's Only Make Believe. He said, you butchered my song some, but if you make some money, that'll be cool. So from there I went to Memphis, and there was Graceland, and there was Elvis, and there was this little plaque called Jesse Guerin, G-A-R-O-N. Mine, I took the name and I put an extra R in there, Jesse Guerin. And I called Hollywood and told them they were making up the CDs. I said, put David Ross because Jesse Garon's dead here. But when I got back, it was still Jesse Garon, and then the album was Jesse Garon. But that wouldn't have worked very well because a lot of people at that time, right after Elvis had died, would thought I was trying to ride his coattails, which I wasn't. And then I went out to the Valley to a club to hear, after Elvis died, an Elvis impersonator, one of the first. And the lady at the bar said when I was leaving, "Well, how'd you like the show?" And I said, "Well, he looks a little bit like Elvis, but he doesn't sound that much like Elvis." And she said, "What do you mean?" And I said, I sound more like Elvis than that. And so I gave her a little bit of Heartbreak Hotel, and she said, "Oh, you should be doing this." I said, "Oh, no, there was only one Elvis. That's all there was." So a lot of people wanted me to do Elvis impersonations, but I wouldn't do it. So now I'm David Ross, and I'm just hoping you people out there enjoy the music we put together. They wonder because each one of them knew that album was hot, and they all wished well, but they never heard from me ever again. And what happened was the 24 tracks that I was going to do to do more music with got burned up at Sierra Sonic's recording studio in Reno, so that kind of shut the door there. But we had done the lead vocals in Reno at the Sierra Sonics earlier, so we had a copy somewhere, but I didn't know where the music was. But my son had it in a briefcase, and about 3 years ago, I found it, and I sent the cassette. All it was a cassette, and I sent it back to Tom, and he mastered it, and this is what we're putting out right now. And the background singer, one of the background singers, I don't remember the other two, but was Tommy Farragher, who went on to do his own thing, and he was just a backup singer for Jesse Garon. There was a big guy with a ponytail, I don't know his name, but he did voiceovers for cartoons and different things, and he had for a guy, he had a very high voice. And there's a song, the last song on the album, called "Let the Spirit Move You," and everybody that when I got to that song, they didn't want me to put that on the album, but I said it has to be there because that's what I'm all about. And so they all sat there and did their best they could. And at the very end of "Let the Spirit Move You," the big tall guy goes, "I saw God." So that's kind of cute. Yeah, we wrote about at least 30 songs, and we just took the best 10. And it was a really good effort. It was just one of the co-producers, had it that I was going to mess them up and not give them their just dues. And so they ended up trying to steal the album. And when my dad was sick for a couple of weeks, they went over to another studio and duplicated all 24 tracks. But one of my friends came over to my home and said that this other gentleman said that that I was going to mess them up, so we had to mess you up first. But Dave, you've never messed anybody, so what should I do? I said the great musicians heard the music, and I've got too many things I have to do for the government and for my dad. Just copyright it in all three of our names, even though you guys got paid to ghostwrite and produce. So. And then that's what saved the music there. And it just, every time it seemed like it was lost, it seemed like the Lord brought something like my son's briefcase to me, and there was no copies except for a little cassette with the perfect pitch and the perfect production. So I'm just grateful to God that He gave me a chance to put this music out that means so much to me all these years. And I'm just an older guy now, but I still have the chops because I never abused the voice. And so I just want to touch people with the music and my voice.